country.
Well, and Donald Trump said today that he does want to debate Vice President Harris, maybe more so than once. One of the issues that
only after backing out of the debate he already agreed to, though, right? Somehow
today
citing
he has an issue with doing it with ABC.
Right, but he didn't when he agreed to it in the
Fox.
first place, right? I mean, I think the interesting thing about this is what changed from when he said he was ready to do an ABC debate and when he now says he's not. ABC didn't change. Donald Trump didn't change. But there's a new candidate, and clearly he hesitates to debate her on the exact same terms that he thought
so you think
would
he's
be okay. Afraid.
Scared to debate her?
Yeah.
Why do you think so?
Because I think she is going to be so effective, and she's going to lay bare his inability to talk about anything but himself and his past. I think what you'll see is two things that I'm excited for Americans to see. Yes, the contrast, the way, as she laid out very powerfully, she, as a prosecutor who has defended people from people like Donald Trump, is going to remind everybody about that record, but also a contrast in governing records. She's going to be, I think, very effective in reminding Americans that on issue after issue, they already agree with us. They already agree with her and Democrats. Americans agree with Democrats and disagree with Donald Trump on taxes and his agenda of tax cuts for the rich. They agree with Kamala Harris, Democrats, and disagree with Donald Trump on his removal of the right to choose in this country. And gun violence, marriage, you can go on down the list. I think she's very well positioned to remind Americans of that fact.
Here's what Trump didn't take into account while desperately trying to move the goalposts and claiming that suddenly ABC was no longer an appropriate venue for the debate, is that the only thing worse than having to debate Kamala would be the embarrassment that he would suffer from people calling out the fact that he's too scared to debate Kamala. The guy's almost in an impossible situation here because clearly he is scared to debate her, which if I was Trump, I would be too, but now he's contending with something almost worse for him, and that is everyone laughing at him for being too scared. And if I'm not mistaken, I seem to remember Donald Trump recently giving his thoughts on being laughed at.
But when I was building the wall, I said, you have to give us 28,000 soldiers. And they laughed at me. I hate when people laugh at me. I hate it. I hate it. No, it's so disrespectful. They laughed at me.
And so because everyone is now laughing at Trump over his desperate attempts to avoid the debate, saying things like, ABC, the home of George Slopadopoulous, is not worthy of holding a debate, of which I hope there will be many, which I'm sure, now suddenly he's softening his tone and claiming, yeah, no, I definitely, totally want to debate her. We'll just have to iron out some of the details. Right, I'm sure he's falling over himself to debate her only after he's been summarily mocked for running scared. Got it. And as I mentioned before, look, I get it. If I was Trump, I also would not want to go up against Kamala Harris, if for no other reason than the fact that she's already previewed what a debate would look like as of her first major rally in Wisconsin.
Before I was elected United States Senator, I was elected Attorney General of the state of California, and I was a courtroom prosecutor before then. And in those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type. And in this campaign, I promise you, I will proudly put my record against his any day of the week.
You mean to tell me the convicted felon doesn't want to debate the prosecutor? Weird, huh? And it's not just the fact that this election is going to be a race between a prosecutor and a felon. Remember, Kamala's beat for the last year has been crisscrossing the country to talk about abortion rights. Here, for example, is what she said to me when I interviewed her last month. Can you speak about, I guess, as clearly and definitively as you can, what it would mean for contraception if Trump and Republicans took over?
I think that when you look at the blueprint for this, there are a couple things you can understand in terms of who's to blame and what's happening. You can look at the former Trump presidency, right? Former President Trump's presidency, and when he was presented with the notion of a national ban, said that he would support it and sign it if it came to his desk when he was president. He hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade.
And bragged about that.
And they did as he intended, and he has since bragged about how proud he is of what he did. I also would point to the decision that court rendered undoing the protections of Roe, taking basic freedoms from the American people. Clarence Thomas, a member of the United States Supreme Court, said the quiet part out loud in that decision, which is that contraception was very much on the table, not to mention Obergefell. So regardless of one's gender, this issue of the taking of a fundamental freedom, the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, impacts everyone. And just sit back and think about it again. The notion that in our lifetime, just in the last 2 years, a basic freedom, literally about house and home, about the freedom to make decisions about your own body has been taken. If that's taken, I would suggest everything is on the table. And for that reason, everyone should be concerned and vigilant about fighting to protect freedoms. See the stakes at hand and at play in this election in 2024. Because believe you me, if Donald Trump is president again and a national abortion ban hits his desk, odds-on favorite, he signs it. And for all of our friends in California and New York and all these other states that have protected this freedom, don't get too comfortable.
Right. A nationwide ban on abortion is a nationwide ban.
A nationwide ban on abortion is a nationwide ban on abortion.
Contrast that with what Donald Trump said on this issue.
Especially since I was proudly the person responsible for the ending of something that all legal scholars, both sides, wanted and, in fact, demanded be ended. Roe v. Wade. They wanted it ended.
And considering how voters responded to Republicans on this issue, from Ohio to Kansas to Kentucky to Alabama, not exactly a home run for Trump here. So look, I'm hopeful that we will see a debate, but what Trump doesn't have control over is Kamala's ability to travel the country while he's busy golfing, making a devastatingly strong case to the American people. In no uncertain terms, she will lay out not only the difference between a felon and a prosecutor in the Oval Office, but also, and just as importantly, what it means for Americans that this particular felon would be in the White House, especially as it relates to abortion, to climate change, to gun safety, to healthcare, to taxing the rich, to antitrust, to workers' rights, to unions, and to democracy. Let's be clear here. Donald Trump is on the wrong side of all of these issues, and he knows it, which is why he's so desperate to distract you with culture wars about bullshit. But while that might have been the strategy against Joe Biden, it's not going to work against Kamala Harris. She's focused, she is relentless, and she's got a lifetime of experience dealing with con men, with frauds, with cheaters, with criminals, with sex predators, and Donald Trump is all of those things wrapped into one. So if you're asking me whether Trump is scared, without a shadow of a doubt, and he's got good reason to be. I've got a really exciting announcement. I've written a book. It's called Shameless. This book explores how Republicans have exploited their historical branding while attacking our democracy, how the media has proven itself a willful participant, and how Democrats can learn from this to rebalance the political scales and save our democracy. It has been a lifelong dream of mine to write my own book, and so I'd like to ask you to pre-order it by clicking the link right here on the screen. And if you buy within this pre-order period, your book is going to come with a signed nameplate. As you know, I've never had a single sponsor on my channel. I don't ask for money or anything like that, but if you're looking for a way to support me, this is hands down the best way to do it. So again, follow the link right here on the screen, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for pre-ordering Shameless. And as always, make sure to subscribe to see more of my content.